Hello again to this new tutorial. Today in this session, I will discuss with you one of the intelligence time function that we have in Power BI. So this function is dot between. But before that, I will show you because we need to make a comparison between this function of date between and date in period. To understand that deeply, let's go to creating the measures. Well, I will start first by dot in period, and I will show you what is the parameter we need to work on it in this function to apply it in our analysis. So let's create a measure called date in periods is equal to calculate function, and I need a sum of cells. We close that, close this sum function, and I need date in period. So if you look with me this doctrine of this function, the first argument we need is the date. We need to use the color of data we have or a table content this column of date. The second parameter or the second argument that we need in this function is starting date. We need to start with some date. And the third argument is the number of interval, and 5 is the type argument. Here in this function of this in period, we need just date and we need the starting date, and we need to specify the type of interval I need. Maybe a day, maybe month, maybe quarter, maybe year. That's depend of the analysis we need. Here, I need firstly apply this column of date, and we need so let's make it thus easy. I need to starting with the date of 2000 based on this dataset I have just dataset of 2 years. Let's start in with 2030, and we need to specify the month. In this case, it's September, and we need the 1st of September. We close parentheses of this function. Okay. And let's continue to tracing the number of interval I want. In this case, I want just one. And I want the day. I want the sales of 1 day. That is the meaning of this the syntax of this measure. I want just sales of 1 day. Press enter. So let's make this measure in a cart. So if drag this field, so this is the sales of 1 day. So to make this clear more, let's create in a table, and in this table I will drag. I need a dates and I need sales. Here, so let's make it more bigger. So if we go to check the first cell or the first date that we have here in this table is around of 4 million, the same number that we have here, because I want sales of 1 day. This is how I apply this function using 1 day. So let's try to create or to get the same results based on date between. By the way, this function of period in day is suitable when we have a regular interval. I mean, we have day, we have quarter, we have month, we have year, something like that. But for date between, I will show you what is the arguments that we need inside of this function to be work with us. Let's create another measure called, or name it, uh date between. Okay. I need first this calculate function, and I need the sum because I want to show. We close this function, and let's call this the filter of the date between. So if we look at this external this function, we need first the colon dates, and we need the start date and end date. It's not like date in period. This is the main difference we have between two this function. So in that between, we need the start date and end date. But for date in period, we need just the colon of date, and we need uh we need the starting date, and we need the intervals. We need the name or the number and the type of intervals. So here uh we need to apply date colon date, and we need a starting date. So let's 2030 September 1st September. So let's close this. And the end date, it's straight in the same date. Okay, I need 2013 September. First date or 1st September. Okay, so but before that, between these three parameters, if we choose in the first date is greater than the end date, the result that we can get is a blank table. If, for example, I choose in here 2020 and they want the end date is to 2040 at this time, the result it will be a blank table. If we have a blank date here in the start date, the result here in the function, it will be considered the minimum date that we have in our column of date. And again, if we choosing a blank here in the end date, it will be returned the maximum date that we have in the column of date. For this reason, we need to be careful and see and know what we want exactly. So press enter, and here I want creating another card. Okay, here, and we drop this date between that we create. So if we look in here, we have the same result. We get the same result with different functions. Each function is used in some scenario. As I tell you before, if we need to, or if we have a regular periods or regular interval, is okay to using date in period. But here, if we need to specific or to specify the range of dates, at this time we can just use this date between here. Here I using just one date to show you. We can get this result with different functions, but each function here we use it in some scenario. Well, I hope that's clear for you all. Happy learning again, and see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.